his second year in office, U.S. President Donald Trump continued to push forward some tough legislation. He invoked his national security powers and curbed long-standing humanitarian protections for foreigners arriving on American soil. Thousands of people have arrived at this U.S. border here in San Diego over the course of this year, traveling as migrant caravans throughout Central America. We covered the plight of these migrants here at the border.
Solomon brought his entire family from Honduras. They walked hundreds of kilometers and spent nights sleeping out in the cold streets. They told us they were escaping violence and intimidation in their hometown. We caught up with them in Mexico City halfway through their journey. Solomon told us the grueling journey was worth it for the chance at a better life.
If it wasn't a question of our lives, we wouldn't have put ourselves in this situation. But over there, life is hard and dangerous. I just want to protect my family, and we are seeking a dignified life.
Leading up to the November midterm elections, President Trump repeatedly spoke about his intentions to stop the migrant caravans.
Caravan after caravan, isn't that nice, of illegal aliens to flood into our country and overwhelm your communities. That's what's happened. Have you seen the pictures?
The decision to change regulations for seeking asylum came one day after the elections. The administration says it is in U.S. national security interests, but the new policy drew criticism from the United Nations, which says illegal crossings are a response to a lack of legal means to seek asylum. In many cases, people told us that the new regulations make them feel they would rather remain undocumented. Fernando told us he doesn't trust the border agents. We interviewed him in just over the U.S. border in Tijuana. He was concerned about crossing at the official point for fear of being detained for months, only to be deported back to Honduras.
I would rather smuggle myself across the border and stay without documents, because the asylum process has become much harder. They detain you for months, wear an ankle monitor, or make you sign a paper giving up your rights. But I can't risk being deported.
The American Civil Liberties Union is currently challenging some of Trump's policies through the courts. They say people have a legal right to seek asylum and that the president is unconstitutional.
It's not the first time the administration's policies have been challenged by civil rights groups. In May, a so-called zero-tolerance policy towards illegal immigration led to the criminal prosecution of adult migrants after being separated from their children. Some of the most poignant images we saw in the media this year were the children of these migrants, some of them as young as only a few months old. Pictures of minors left alone in what appears to be cages in makeshift detention centers caused international condemnation.
Throughout the year, TRT World followed Maria, whose children were taken away for nearly 2 months during her detention after entering the U.S.
It
was the worst moment of my life. My children started crying, screaming, "Mummy, Mummy, don't leave us." I told them it wasn't up to me, but I was being ordered to leave them because the laws here are so strict.
This is the family in Tijuana in May. They were fleeing violence in Guatemala. TRT World followed them as they first crossed the U.S. border. Maria's children were taken from her and sent to New York. Maria was sent to a detention center in Texas. The youngest of Maria's children is suffering from the ordeal. Her husband was quickly deported to Mexico. Our team visited him in Tijuana. We were able to show Maria and her children the footage. It was the first time they had seen their father since they were taken away. Hundreds of children, including toddlers, are finding themselves tried in courts without any representation. As of December, most facilities for unaccompanied minors across the country are at or near full capacity.
We were absolutely devastated and so angered by his decision to take away children from mothers and fathers. And these children were taken to all parts of the United States. Many of them have yet to be reunited with their families. We still have children who do not know where their parents are, and parents looking for those children. Unacceptable.
President Trump wants to end illegal immigration. This year, he deployed a 7,000-strong military troops to the border area, more than the number of troops fighting Daesh in the Middle East. He insists that building a wall on the US-Mexico border is the ultimate solution. It was a campaign promise that remains one of the most controversial issues being argued between both sides of the political spectrum. It's still not clear, though, when it could be built or who will pay for it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Trump wants several $billion from Congress to pay for the wall. But many local NGOs in the border area believe that the wall would be a waste of investment.
So it's money that we could be putting towards healthcare, towards education, and really things that matter. Like a wall is not going to solve the problems in our region. We need better infrastructure in the first place.
2018 has seen a host of policies from a US president determined to deliver on promises to crack down on illegal immigration. Trump has pledged to make America more secure, and some of his legislation has led to battles in the Supreme Court. His opponents are appalled by Trump's harsh rhetoric and say his actions are inhumane and un-American. And with outstanding issues such as ending birthright citizenship and asylum rights, the coming months could be even more contentious. Meanwhile, people continue to arrive at the border here, desperately seeking something better than the places they have left. But what's clear is that a new life in America is becoming a more and more difficult prospect. It is Tian Shan, TRT World, at the US-Mexico border.